So now I'll correlate this with my Selenium scripts. Okay, so now let's say I have a requirement. I have a requirement that I do have 10 test cases. I have a requirement that I do have a 10 test cases, and for all those 10 test cases, I wanted to execute. For first test case, I wanted to execute every test case in the new browser instance. And after completing my test case execution, I wanted to close the browser instance. That means for every new test case, new browser, and then close. Again, new browser, do the execution and close. Then test case 3, same new browser, and likewise. So if I wanted to do that setup, what I'll do here, I will do before method every time I am going to open a new. I'm going to open a new driver. I don't have the reference library. There may be error, but I just want to show you this. Okay. So my requirement is before every test case, open the new browser. So I open the new browser. Okay. If your URL is fixed, then you can write here .get and your URL. Okay, so that way you can say before every test case you opening this. Now you said every test case in a new browser, that is what you are doing. Now you wanted to close that browser, so I will do here driver dot close, but this will throw you error because this is not your global variable. So you can make that global here, rather you set up null, and then only with this driver you can always open your Chrome driver and always that you can close. By that way your first requirement is closed. That means now every new test case it opens in the new browser. After execution it will close that browser. This is my first requirement. Now my client second requirement is I have 10 test cases. Again, same scenario. But before all the test cases, but all those 10 test cases are shared in a different classes. Okay, all these 10 test cases are shared in a different classes. So now my second requirement says I wanted to execute these 10 test cases, but in a same browser. That means I wanted to open browser at once, perform all the 10 test cases, and then close that browser. So if I wanted to do that, I have another area that is my before test. So in my before test, what I'll write, I will open only once. So before test, what before test says, it will execute only once before all at test. So this will open only once. That means it sets the driver, then it will open the URL you mentioned. Okay, and after test says after finishing all at test I wanted to close. This is how the difference between before method and before test. This is how people ask you the question in interview, how you are going to define or differentiate before method and before soup. So before method, again before all at test, before each at test, and before test is before all at test. This is how a difference. Okay, so now I'm going to delete this. So not want to make any errors here. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how we can implement this into a framework, so where we can see the actual implementation. Okay, this is how a very basic class we shared. Now let's go back, and I'm going to create a new there are multiple classes I'm going to create. Let's say I have a TestNG class, so that is my class A. Okay, there is no, if you can see, I'm not selecting any annotation at this stage. I said finish. Then I have my another class, that is my class B, again without any annotation. Then I have my class I have my class C without any annotation. So I have A, I have B, I have C. I have these three classes. Every classes has two test cases. So I have test case 1 and I have test case 2. So I can write here TC1, okay, and I can make this TC2. Okay, so in class A, I have two test cases, that is TC1 and TC2. Same way in class B, I have TC3 and I can copy this TC4. Okay, so every class is having two test cases. So class A, class B, and now I'm copying this, and in class C as well, I have 5 and I have 6. Okay, so now I have 6 test cases in a 6 different test cases in a 3 different classes. So class A, B, and class C. Now how framework works? In the framework, we do have some class name as your base class. So I'm going to create a new base class. I wanted to explain you how you can share or explain these things into your interview. So let's say I'm saying base class. I said finish. There is no other annotation. I wanted to remove this test case. First of all, I wanted to remove this test case. So base class is my plain base class. So definitely not required this import. Okay. So now if I wanted to do these things, okay, so I have this multiple annotation. I just copy this multiple annotation and paste it there so that we can see how that works in a majorly in a framework. So I have all my annotations here, before method, after method in the base class, but there is no test case. Make it clear, there is no test case in this base class. So I have base class, class A, B, and C. Now I wanted to do one thing, that I wanted to create a test suite. As of now, we saw if I wanted to run this test case, how we directly run as and TestNG test. But this time, 3 test cases, 3 classes, if we wanted to execute at the same time, it is not possible from the run as. So we need to do or create a new TestNG class. Let's go back here. Right click. If you can see here, TestNG. Okay, right click on your package or any specific package if you want. Okay, so I'll make it more clear. So let's say I'm going to create a new package here, a basic package. Okay, and I simply copy this class there, the previous one. I said okay. Okay, so I have that basic TestNG class into basic package, but in the TestNG package, we do have these 4 classes which we have created. Why I'm showing you this with the package? Because we can create a suite with the package, with the source folder, with the project as well. So I'm going to show you with the package. So right click on TestNG package. I say TestNG and I say convert to TestNG. Once we write convert to TestNG, it will open and show you a TestNG package. Just a minute. Okay, probably that it was disabled from my side. Okay, so you can create in this way. You can just simply say TestNG and you say convert TestNG. Okay, that is because I've disabled last night. Just wanted to show. Okay. Okay, I don't want to waste your time. Okay, forget it. So So once I right click and TestNG and convert to TestNG, whenever I say convert to TestNG, it will open the TestNG.xml and it will create a TestNG.xml. You just save. So in the TestNG.xml, that time it will show you a multiple classes like class A, class B and class C within the same suite. Okay, within the same suite I can see these three classes. Once you right click on the XML, the testng.xml, you simply said and copy and execute those classes. Okay, so that is possible from the XML. I don't want to waste your time because I wanted to do some settings to make this happen here. Okay, so with this, what happened? I have class A, B, and C. So I wanted to write here another Java concepts name as extends. That is, I'm going to inherit all the properties of this parent base class to the class A. So what happened? What is there in the parent base class? In the parent base class, I have all the annotations, and annotation works as it is, which we saw in previous way. So again, all those 8 annotation work as it is. So before suite will execute, if I execute that testng.xml, it will execute only once. Again, before test will execute only once before all at test. But this time before class will execute 3 times because there are 3 classes we are executing from the particular suite. Okay, from particular TestNG suite. So if there are 3 classes, before class will execute 3 times. If there are 10 classes, before class will execute 10 times. But before method will execute 6 times because we have 6 test cases. That's why before test will execute 6 times, before class will 3 times, before test will 1 time, and before suite will 1 time. This is how it will execute. Okay, so now I wanted to show you the another. If I refresh this project, you came to know there are another folder comes because TestNG supports a graphical report as well. TestNG provides you the graphical report as well. So if I can go back here, TestNG, and if you can see here index.html, if you can see this index.html, and I open this index.html, and I can go back to this folder properties. Wait for a minute. So this is within the TestNG project workspace. Okay. So I go back to my workspace. I wanted to show you that things. Okay. So TestNG project, there is a TestNG output, and I wanted to show you this index.html first. So let's say I am opening this, okay, and this is my TestNG project. So my first report says this is my TestNG results where I have all my test, how many test cases I have run. So previously I run 2 test cases. Once I said show, it says you execute test case 1, you execute test case 2. If I click on this test case 1, it will explain within this package you have basic TestNG class where you have these 2 test cases. This is my very basic HTML report from the TestNG, okay, where you can see the reporter output, ignore methods if you have any ignore methods, if you have any chronological view, which I said that this is nothing but execution pattern, that also you can see from these things. So in your before suite, before test, class, before method, and the likewise, you can see all this chronological view from this default suite execution. Same way, if I can go back for this, and I said emailable report. If I execute this emailable report, in the emailable report, which you can share with any of your team lead, with or with your team members, with anyone. Okay, so okay, believe me, TestNG has their iTest reporter is another listeners which we can use to create a very better report in TestNG as well. Okay, I'm not able to show you that in this limited time, but we'll definitely share with that you in the next session. Okay, Now, so TestNG report, if you can see again, default test, there are how many tests I executed. I have executed 2 test cases, 0 skip, 0 failed. And what is the time it takes? So it takes 32 milliseconds for execution, where you'll get all your timing. So now again this package, and I click on this test case 1. So it says this is my test case 1. If I wanted to click test case 2, this is my test case 2. There is no further steps or something mentioned in the test case. That's why you're not getting the report in more detail. This is very high level report which I can show you. Okay, now I'm going to show you another report, that is your default suite, a suite execution. If I execute this suite, this is your third report, where you can see I have test case 1, I have my test case 2, and in this test case 1 and test case 2 there is execution, and this is on which day, which time I have executed, what is the time taken, that is also it is mentioned. Do not confuse yourself, here it is mentioning 0, but it takes 32 milliseconds. Okay, it is very clear here. Okay, this is how we can see the TestNG reports as well. Now I'm going back and show you this more time. So this is okay, I'll repeat one more time. This shows you how we can run a test cases, a multiple test cases from your framework. Always in your framework you do have, always in your framework you do have a base class or your initializer class. In initializer class, always you have all your setup, all your annotations are used for the setup. We are doing this for the setup, like before method, after method, all those things are doing for the setup, which I already execute and which I already explained you. Okay, same way, now I'm going to show you a implementation with with the Eclipse with Selenium. So I'm going to create a new package, that is TestNG with Selenium. I'm going to say finish. So there is a third package, that is TestNG with Selenium. Right click, new. Again, we need to create a new TestNG class. That is my Selenium implementation. If I say implementation, and I select only 2, before method and after method this time, so that will show you multiple things. Okay. This is my login screen. Okay, login test case. I said login test case. Now if I go back here and I can see, I close this and I want to show you Selenium. This is my site which I can automate now. So if you can see, this is my Selenium QTP automation site which I can automate now. Okay, now here username, password, and confirm password. Okay, so now if you can see, I'm going to right click, inspect. So every Selenium we wanted to have some web elements, which is nothing but your objects. If you want, you need a web element or objects to work on it. Okay, so now if I can go back and I wanted to see what is the object of this username, if you can see, there is a name equals name. These are the locator. There are 8 different types of locator in Selenium, like name, ID, XPath, CSS, class name, tag name, link text, partial link text. Okay, so I'm going to see this is a name. Same way, if I wanted to see for the password, I just simply say, and I can see name equals password. Same way for confirm password. And if I wanted to click on login, I wanted to see what is the login. So okay, that clicks. So let me click on the login, and it is a link. If you can see, this is a tag, so it is a link. with text login. So this is how we wanted to automate now. So we go back here. Okay. And now, before we start, we need a Selenium library here. So for Selenium library, what you can do, you can go to Selenium download site. Sorry. And you can download any of the stable versions. So this is my stable version right now, 3.14.1.59. Okay. And if you want to see, this is alpha version. I already shared one video on YouTube for how to work on Selenium 4, but I can show you how to work on the Selenium 14.1.15. I simply click and download this Selenium server standalone. There is a confusion between people, like can we work with only standalone server, or can we require all these libraries like this Java, all these libraries? Definitely not. We can simply take this standalone. I'm going back there. Okay, I right click, build path, configure build path, and I add that external jars where I have, so I downloaded. So this one is what I downloaded now. Again, I have my Chrome driver here. So I simply take this standalone, apply, and okay. Now, once I added a single library, I wanted to check whether it works or not. Web driver equals null. Okay. So if I simply go back here, it says, okay, import WebDriver, because I have added that library in a reference library. It says import. So I simply import this WebDriver. So WebDriver import is here. Okay. Now, in my test case, I said I wanted to enter a user, I wanted to enter password, and I wanted to enter confirm password and click on login. But before that test case, I wanted to open my browser. So to open that browser, you need something like system.setProperty. Now system.setProperty is not mandatory. If you set that property within your any of the environment variable, then it is not required, but we are not setting up because we are changing regularly our drivers. That's why I'm not setting up right now. So I said WebDriver Chrome dot driver. Okay, and I wanted to give here, that is my key, and my value is the path from where I can take that. So I have the path. Let's start, and I said, okay, so this is my path where I can get my Chrome driver. Okay. So let's try this. So I'm taking this on the next line, and I said driver.exe. So if you can see here, I don't want to show you and take more time on this area. So this is my Chrome driver.exe. I said okay. So before this execution, we wanted to see whether this opened the Chrome or not. So let's execute this class. There is nothing, but still it should open, or the Chrome driver. It should just launch the Chrome driver. We wanted to just see that. If it is not, then we wanted to see if the path is correct or not. We'll see that. Okay, this is pass, very basic. Okay. Now I said I want here driver dot get. So very basic. You said driver dot get, and you need your URL which you wanted to open. So I go back. I can take this URL here. I can just paste this URL here. Okay, and I wanted to open this driver dot URL. Okay,